The fourth key to great leadership and building your team is, of course, lead by example. And when we say lead by example, we mean lead by example in every area of your business. Set the tone. Be what we called earlier, a thermostat leader, where you're setting the temperature for your organization, but you're not setting the temperature by just telling your organization, here's what you need to do, but actually being out front and doing all the things that you would like your organization to do. I've often heard it said this way: if my entire team did what I did today, how would my organization grow? If you do the right activities yourself, every day you're doing the 2 exposures or more. Every day you're making your follow-ups. Every day you're approaching new prospects to become associates and to become new members. Every day you're following up with your leaders and your team to just be a support, and also to do 3-way calls and help them in every way they can work to grow their business. If every week you're at the business briefing, every month you're at the Super Saturday, twice a year you're at the national events. If you're leading by example out front, then your associates will see that. You need to model what you want to see in others. You want to be the change that you expect in others. And so the greatest form of leadership is to lead out front. Imagine if you were going into the heat of battle and the general looked at you and said, charge the hill. You'd probably look back and say, are you coming with us, or are you just sending us to charge the hill, right? Well, that's how your team looks at you. I think we would all feel more confident in a leader that said, come on, we're all charging the hill, knowing that they're leading out front and they're leading the charge, because then they're in it with you. They've got some skin in the game also. And that's the kind of leader that you want to be. You want to kind of be the kind of leader that's not pointing directions on what you need to have happen, but actually leading by example. Many times I'll see leaders that will be making phone calls towards the end of the month because they're trying to qualify for executive director or senior director. And the phone calls are all kind of the same theme. Hey, do you have any memberships? Hey, what do you have going on? Hey, what are you doing? So in other words, the phone calls are all about what are you doing? Instead of taking ownership of it and saying, okay, I need 3 more memberships. What can I do to go create those memberships? Or going out and saying, hey, listen, Brian Carruthers talks a lot about the everyone's favorite radio channel, WIIFM. What is in it for me? In other words, when you're making those phone calls, instead of saying, hey, I need 3 more memberships to qualify for executive director, the phone call is, hey, I see that you're just 60 points short of Performance Club this month. What can I do to help you get those 60 points that you need so you're in Performance Club? In other words, you're leading from the front, you're leading by example, you're doing the things that you would expect others to do, but you're also doing it the right way. You're doing it with their benefit in mind. You're doing it with their goals in mind, and if you help enough people get what they want to get, you're going to get what you want to get. So the other areas, of course, besides production and activity, is leading by example when it comes to attitude, as we talked about earlier. Having the right attitude. Having the right attitude towards change, having the right attitudes towards adversity, having the right positive attitude just towards people in general. I've heard it said many times that you don't build your business. You build people, and people build your business. And so having the right attitudes towards people, in other words, caring about others, that all goes together with leading out front and leading by example. And the other thing I just want to say is you just want to be a model for your organization. You want to model the activity that you want to see happen. Now, here's what's really hard, is that most of the things that you do right, your team is not going to model. So just because you show up at the business briefing every week does not mean they're going to model that activity. Just because you're at the Super Saturday does not mean that they're going to model that activity. Just because you do your 2 exposures every day does not mean they're going to model that activity. So sometimes it can become frustrating when you're doing all the right things, but your team is not modeling. I've often found it to be the case that my team will only do about 50% of what I do right, but they're going to do 100% of what I do wrong. And so what I have to, again, worry about is not worry about what everybody else is going to do. First, I have to worry about what I'm going to do by modeling the right behavior. Because what happens is, if you don't model the right behavior, when you have potential leaders join your organization and they don't see that leadership model from you, they're going to get off path they're going to go the wrong direction, and you're never going to develop those ring earners in your organization. You always have to be on, you always have to be modeling the right activity so that when that right player shows up in your organization, they're going to model your activity. And it only takes a handful of associates on your team modeling the correct activity, following your leadership example, for you to see huge results in your LegalShield business. So hopefully these four key points of leadership that we talked about here today will help you in building your business, casting the vision, learning how to handle adversity, and also learning how to handle change, being consistent in your business, and of course, leading by example. And if you follow these four keys to leadership, you're going to see big growth in your LegalShield business in 2018.